Forward, we have concerns regarding the City of Fort St. John tendering policy. Aaron Henry from Kalmar and Scott Bone from the Northern Regional Construction Association. All right. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Ackerman, City Councillors, and Fort St. John City Managers. My name is Aaron Henry of Kalmar Construction, and I'm here today with Scott Bone, the CEO of the Northern Construction Association. The reason we're here today is to discuss concerns we have about issues in recent tenders and would like some clarification on. I'm hoping that bringing these issues to light will allow the city to review their tendering policies and procedures and be receptive to communicating with the contractor and development community at large to hear their concerns. Most of these concerns have also been expressed by other contractors in the city, some of whom are present at this meeting today. The first item of concern is the city's award process and an item we would like clarification on. Tender that has recently closed came in significantly over budget. Our concern is not that it was awarded to the low bidder. We have been involved in many public tenders and understand the city's obligation to accept the low tender unless there are bid omissions. Our concern is that the city's recommendation to council was to award to the low bidder and then enter negotiations to bring the project within budget. Due to the amount this project came in over budget, it would not be possible to complete unless the scope was changed, as the city was quoted saying they would have to do. Due to the scope being changed, this should have caused the project to be retendered. Secondly, we would like clarification on the city's policy regarding site meetings and clarification questions for tendered projects. On a recent tender, an addendum was issued which scheduled a site meeting for the project and was clearly stated in the tender that any late contractors would not be allowed to attend the meeting. The city representative did not show up, no reason was given, and no knowledgeable replacement was sent. It was also stated in the addendum that no questions at the site meeting would be responded to in writing or otherwise before, during, or after. Why was a site meeting being held if no questions were to be answered? The addendum also stated that any contractor found visiting the site outside of the site meeting for any reason could lead to disqualifications from the tender process. We have never seen these restrictions on a tender before and would like clarification as to why they were added. The third area of concern is the city's policy on issuing of addendums and general communication to bidders involved. A tender that is now closed had received what should have been 4 addendums to it, but only 3 were official. The first 2 were by the consultant. The third was not distributed or documented at all, was issued the day of closing, and was only noted on the city's website. The fourth was issued within an hour of the revised bid closing. Contractors, however, did not receive it until after the tender had closed. We would like to know why it was handled in this manner and why the addendums did not go through the proper channels. There was a consultant hired for the project, which all communication was to go through as per the tender documents, and addendums 3 and 4 were issued by the city directly. The fourth and final item deals with addendums 3 and 4 I had previously mentioned and is our biggest concern. Addendums 3 and 4 were bid extensions, and we'd like clarification as to why a bid extension was issued on the day of tender close. We would also like clarification as to why the next day the bid was extended for a second time, less than an hour before tender closing. There was no documentation or reason given as to why the additional bid extensions were required, and the previously issued addendum did not significantly alter, change, or add scope of work to the project. This was uncharacteristic, unprofessional, and something that we have never seen on any public or private tender that we have participated in. Moving forward, we are hoping to see the city implement a fair and transparent tender process for all bidders involved. No contractor expects to be successful in every project that they bid, but we do expect to have a fair and consistent tender process that does not change from project to project. There's considerable time and resources put in by contractors to prepare these tenders. The time we've had here this afternoon is extremely short and has only addressed recent concerns that I've been directly involved with. We have additional concerns, as do other contractors in the community, that we feel will require the attention of the city. We're hoping the city would be receptive to opening a dialogue with the Construction Association to hear additional questions and concerns raised by the local contractors so we can begin to move forward and improve relations and confidence. I would like to note that last week we did have meetings with senior city staff, and they were receptive to the concerns that we raised and showed genuine interest in trying to improve relations, and we hope this will continue on. Thank you, Mayor Ackerman, City Council, and City of Fort St. John managers for your time this afternoon. Scott Bone will now say a few words.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council. My name is Scott Bone. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Northern Regional Construction Association. We're located in Prince George. We represent about 300 firms within the northern region of British Columbia. These are general contractors, subtrades, manufacturers, and suppliers. Prior to my role at the CEO of the Northern Regional Construction Association, I was the General Manager of Supply Chain Management for the City of Prince George for 32 years. And within that role, it was my role to develop policies and procedures and work very closely with industry and City Council on all of our procurement for that organization. I am currently sitting as an executive on the representative of the BC Construction Association of Standards and Practices, and our role there is to work very closely with government and industry in developing standard practices that are being used by the public sector. Along with what Aaron said, I want to thank the city manager specifically. I had an opportunity to chat with her last week. She gave me great guidance in meeting with City Council and helping us to where we are today. The Northern Regional Construction Association, we're one of four regional offices within the province. We have 1,600 members. And one of the key areas that we provide is training and education to our members, but probably one of the key things that we do is advocacy services, and that's why we're here today. We want to talk a little bit, and we recognize the 10-minute period, and we'll stick within that, Your Worship, but I want to talk a little bit about the key things that we see as playing advocacy. And when I refer to advocacy, it's working with the City of Fort St. John, the industry, and along with the members within the community. The City of Fort St. John, as you're probably well aware, and when you enter into a bid process, you've entered what we call the law of competitive bidding. You have a legal responsibility to treat all bidders fairly and equally throughout that process. You also have a legal responsibility for the compliance with the tendering practices that you're using, whether they're implied and or expressed. Aaron brought forward some key issues in his presentation too, and I'd just like to kind of summarize those as we see them in the industry and how those might be opportunities for us to work with your administration and council to move forward. He talked about site visits. That is a key issue in terms of your pool project. The bid closing process, in my view, could be looked at differently. The addendum process that's currently used within your tenders conflicts with standard practices which is normally used within municipal governments. And finally, if you're unaware, is when a project exceeds a 15% over budget under the public construction guidelines, it's usually required that you would cancel the tender and retender. It's not appropriate in terms of the guidelines that are used by industry and government to negotiate. All of the standard practices that I'm referring to are published by the Public Construction Council of British Columbia, which I've also been very fortunate to be part of. And this is a group of the Architects Institute of British Columbia, the standard engineering groups. So it's major stakeholders within the province, along with the province of BC, to develop the rules and regulations. I'm fully aware and probably think that the city wants to achieve best value on your construction tenders. In the event, and in my 32 years with the City of Prince George, unfortunately, I was caught into situations where we had some challenges. And what that happens in the event that you decide not to follow those practices, that you could enter into the legal arena where a bidder or bidders would challenge your decisions. You may have a lower participation on many of your bidders because bidders may find that the practices that you use would not meet their requirements. You may find that prices on your construction projects will increase because they will build in a premium based on those. As Aaron mentioned, our goal here today is to focus on what we can do moving forward. As I mentioned, the city manager has reached out, and we're looking at a meeting in August 8th of this year, a couple months from now, to set out a framework of dialogue between the association and the members in the community, along with council, about how we might be able to assist and facilitate those conversations. So those are my comments, Your Worship and Council, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. Aaron, you expanded on the information that we had presented in the agenda. So
Yes.
if you have that expanded list, I'd appreciate having a copy.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. As you know, council creates policy, and our policies, we should never be shy about looking at our policies. And when legislation requires that they be changed, or when society requires that they be changed, or just when they lend themselves to be barriers rather than guidelines and goalposts for moving forward, I think it's important that we step up to the plate, ensure that we've got policies that ensure equity and fairness and transparency always. And so the City of Fort St. John is a member of the Master Municipal Construction Documents Association, and so that's the framework that we have been following for a number of years. But having had this conversation, I believe that what council needs to do is probably provide direction to staff to initiate a process. And so if I don't see council has anything further to say, and I know that the city manager has already offered to meet with you in August, so that's August is about 5 weeks away. So I'll just let our city manager say a few words, and then we'll move forward.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation. I just want to reconfirm that our goals and expectations are the same as the construction community. We also are very committed to transparency and integrity in our process. And so we'll work with you to ensure that we both get to the point where we feel that that is in fact happening. And I do apologize for a late meeting in August, but I am taking a vacation. Otherwise, we would have found an earlier date. So we're holding it just so I can get back. I do want to be part of that meeting, especially in the initial couple of meetings, and then we'll see where it goes from that as well. With regards to the specific, we will also come back to council with a response to the questions asked. I know with any issue, if there's two sides of the story, there's probably 10. And so it's going to take a little bit of time to unravel and to seek some advice and take a look at if we went wrong, where we went wrong. And if it's just a matter of explaining our processes, then we'd adhere to them, then we'll do that as well. So we'll commit to doing that. I did take a look at your website, and I don't know if a lot of your links are broken or not. But I was looking for some of your resources that you referenced, Mr. Bone, last week, and they don't seem to be on your website. So I don't know if you want to take a look at that. That would be appreciated. Some of the documents, especially the ones that you had around mandatory site visits, it looks like there was a briefing paper on that, and I couldn't. The link was just broken anyway. But we'll take a look at that, what you have to offer on your site. As the mayor indicated, we do belong to the Masters Municipal Construction Documents Association. In fact, we do have a person that's certified, and we've also had other staff members go through the training, and they provide training locally as well. So we'll reach out to them and just talk about opportunities that exist here as well. And your worship, I don't know if you want me to address the specific about the tender, about the spray park, but or if you want to just have us respond on a report.
I think what we should do is review the policy in the whole, and we'll get this information, the specifics from Aaron that he has expanded on.
Your worship, just to the comment from the city manager, the website that you're referring to is currently under redesign, and we hope that that's going to be available in the documents that you'll be looking for. We look forward to sharing to you. The other comment I'd just like to comment, and certainly appreciate that your policies around the MCD. Those are contracts typically used in what we call civil or road work. There's other types of contracts that we look forward to bring back to council and processes that the BC Construction Association that would fit more in line with general contract services. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we look forward to moving forward on this, and thank you. We're never afraid to have our feet held to the fire, so I appreciate that
Thank you.
coming forward with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.